You're listening to a Countout Podcast. Okay, I'm going to play the music too, so get ready. Get strapped. Oh, yeah, hopefully it's not too loud. Let me know if it's too loud. Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ring Post Radio. It's the first episode of such a product. Can you believe it? Oh my! The squeakiest microphone in the goddamn world. I'm Ryan Knightsey, and I'm joined by the squeaky microphone holder, Scotty Edwards. Scotty, what do you got? The Tin Man over there? What's happening?
I moved my microphone for 2 seconds, and now it just won't stop squeaking. And I couldn't think of a better way to start this podcast.
What an entrance!
Than to just squeak my way in. So here I am. We'll act like we didn't hear it, and we'll continue on in our lives.
What an entrance! What a beginning of this show!
The worst part is that I tried to shut my microphone off, and I realized I could have just muted myself.
Yeah,
sadness.
You could have. I've been looking into getting one of those. It's like a cough button, where you kind of just hook it up along with all your XLR cables and whatnot, and it's just a button that you hit to press and mute yourself for a quick second. I've been looking into getting one of those just because, every once in a while I'll get coffee or sniffly, and we don't want those picking up on the airwaves, I guess.
Well, good news. This is a wrestling podcast, so we're done with the squeaking. Sorry, Pete. I'm sorry. Listen, I have many a podcast, and if I said this was my first mistake, I would be lying. So I don't feel bad. You're going to keep listening, and that's that.
That's good. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on our first inaugural episode of Ring Post Radio. I'm very excited, Scotty. I'm very excited to do this show with you. It's been great working with you and talking with you over the months, and this project took freaking forever to get off the ground.
Sure did.
Mostly,
I somehow managed to start another one. And this was the most ridiculous part of it all was this was planned far ahead of the other one being started.
Yeah,
and I'm already like weeks into that one. That being said, I'm very excited to do this because so I have 2 other podcasts. One's just Joshi, and one's, kind of like this, but it's me. It's just me. So being able to talk with someone, on a weekly basis about the good and bad of wrestling should be fun because we don't agree on everything. And that always leads to conversation, but we agree on a lot of things too. So I think it'll be a lot of playful stuff, especially with how wrestling's going right now. Like to me, I don't know if you feel the same way. There is not a better time to start a podcast like this than right now, because one company is, up in flames in some situations, while the other one, like, we'll get into it later. I won't say too much, but there's so much going good in wrestling right now that I just can't wait to talk about. Like, I like to say that the beauty of professional wrestling is that there is something for everyone.
Yeah.
If you don't like WWE, you can go to AEW. If you don't like AEW, you can go to New Japan. If you don't like New Japan, you can go to Noah or something like that. Like there is multiple paths here where something can be like the other, but it's just a little different, and that's the beauty. And I will let you talk because I've been rambling.
No, it's beautiful. No, I love it. 2 points I had to that was, one, the idea that like we agree and disagree on a lot of stuff, because obviously that's the whole point of having a conversation, having debate. Right. Nowadays, people are scared of that sometimes, to have a debate, and I'm okay having it with you, because at the end of the day, I feel like the rule of the show is like everyone's opinion is correct because it's their opinion.
Yeah.
And and the respect that deserves.
To me, that's the beauty, again, of wrestling. Like, if you don't like something, that's fine. That doesn't mean someone else can't like it. And I think that is something that not all these podcasts understand. Like, I am not going to hate someone for liking some ridiculous thing on WWE. As someone that watches, weekly still, there's a lot of things I don't like, but I do tend to find one or two things that I do enjoy, and I will say that. And I'm not going to harp on how bad a certain red show on Mondays is all the time because that gets boring. But
whereas I may harp on how crappy
right,
that
exactly.
show is.
Like, you can do that, but like I feel like I've created like this gimmick of sorts where I just try to be as positive about the stuff I like, and if it's bad, then I'll have at it. But if you bring it up, it's a different ball game, ladies and gentlemen. I will let loose.
Yeah, you're like the optimist, where I'm like the pessimist, where I'm like, where's the bull and bear? Is that maybe that should be the name, Bull and Bear Podcast? I don't know.
No one would understand why,
because people would think that's like an economy podcast.
It's not.
I guess, yeah, no. And the other point I had was that like the wrestling is for everybody. I feel like when people hear that, they think about like, well, not wrestling for everybody. The idea that you said, which was that I completely remember, which was that like there's like if you don't like something, you can move on to something else. The joy that I've discovered in wrestling is finding all these different promotions, because when a promotion is doing a bunch of stuff that I'm not a fan of, let's say WWE, or let's say New Japan, for instance, or
We're just gonna keep tossing WWE.
I'm just gonna put names under the bus here. If there are promotions that are like I'm faltering on, that I'm not really interested on, I can just move to another promotion and watch some of that and keep up with that. Like I've been weirdly doing with Impact for some reason.
Dude, Impact is like oddly solid every week.
It's
like they have the roster, and I don't know.
I think it's an easy watch. I think Impact is an easy watch. But we'll get
and like
we'll get into all of it, because we're recording this a little bit early. The whole point of Ring Post is that we want to do the weekly shows, and we're going to do it like day before it's released or whatever. We're recording this way before it gets released. And we felt that, as sort of like episode 1, episode 0 sort of idea to sort of introduce y'all to what we're doing here, what we're about, is we have a whole thing in our run sheet here titled State of Wrestling, like State of the Union, State of the Wrestling. And we're just going to spend these next couple hours talking about just all wrestling all across the board. We'll go promotion to promotion all across the board. We're sort of talking about modern wrestling, of course.
Perhaps we'll get deleted.
I was considering watching the most recent Gleet thing, but
was fine.
I saw
It wasn't much.
I was looking through your match rating, Scotty, and I
watched one match.
You watched one match and gave it 1 star, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I won't watch it.
Yeah, I wasn't. Listen. That doesn't mean the promotion's bad. I think Gleet's actually going in a good direction. I think it's going to be an interesting promotion to follow. I wasn't feeling this past episode, and I don't think it's supposed to be a big episode, or I don't really know what it is. I guess they're not episodes. I guess they're just kind of shows.
I don't know what Gleet is in general. Like, I just don't know what
it's pretty much the Noah people being like, all right, we got out of wrestling, but let's get back into wrestling, and we're gonna call it Gleet.
It's basically like Strong Hearts are like, look, there's no other promotions we can work in. Let's just make a promotion.
Yeah, remember OWE? No? All right, cool.
That lasted for what, like 6 months, a year, maybe?
I remember that was one of the big announcements at the AEW thing. I was like, what?
What is this? I guess this looks interesting. Like,
they were on Dark.
They were on Strong Hearts were on Dark, and that was pretty much it. I remember I saw Strong Hearts live in Atlanta. It was Shima and T-Hawk, I believe, wrestling. And they had a tag match and everything.
I learned that I also saw them live when they came to Boston, but I didn't remember that. I did not remember that at all.
Has AEW been to Boston? Yeah, they have, right?
Yeah, that was the second ever Dynamite. Fun fact for you.
I was hoping to I'm originally from DC area, so I was hoping to go to the first one. But at the time, my girlfriend and I just moved down to Atlanta, Georgia, and we were like, we don't really have the money to go back up for one wrestling show in the middle of the work week on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fair, I guess. That's fair, I guess. And
And
instead,
nothing happened.
I turned to her and I was like, yeah, nothing big happened. I turned to her though and I was like, okay, well that's fine because, there was like, okay, DC, then Boston, and then like they started like moving down or something. I forget what it was, but there was like, they started like, maybe it was like
Yeah.
Boston to Philly to something else, and then started going south to Carolina. And I was like, okay, based on this trajectory, they're probably going to hit up Atlanta, Georgia next. They didn't go to Georgia for like another year. I was like, what's happening? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And there's still a bunch of other markets that aren't being handled right now because of COVID. But I was just like, oh man, we got one big show, and then obviously everything's exploded.
Could have just went to Florida over the past like 4 months.
I,
You really wanted to see it.
I strongly considered it especially once we got vaccinated, because then it just became like, okay, well, hold on. And I even pitched her, I was like, do you want to go to, what was that last pay-per-view? Double or Nothing?
Yes.
You want to go to Double or Nothing? It's going to have a full crowd and everyone's going to be there. And she was like, are they going to be wearing masks? And I was like, well, it's Florida, Jesse. I don't know what to tell you. It's not. It's not. It's the Wild West of the South. It's not
the Wild West
great.
of the country.
Yeah, I mean it's practically its own country, Jesse. So I don't know what you're talking about. But that's good. Yeah, no, I'm glad we're here. We're talking about wrestling. We're gonna talk about whatever we want. We're also gonna talk about our matches of the month and whatnot. But before we get to that, let's start going into the state of wrestling. Why don't we? Let's do some hot takes. Let's put our opinions out there in the world. That way we're all prepped and ready to go for every week of Ring Post Radio. What do you say, Scotty?
Sounds good to me. Let's get ourselves canceled. I mean, let's have a good show.
Well, maybe that's a good place to start of getting canceled. I'm just putting this in any order.
Yeah.
Speaking of canceled, why don't we start over with AEW? I feel like
Oh, interesting. See, that could have went for WWE just as a entire company, but I know exactly where we're going. So continue.
Yeah, no. I think AEW is probably one of the best wrestling promotions of the day. I think that's not a hot take whatsoever. I think that's a relatively easy cold take. But a lot of people, there's a lot of talk right now, the day we are recording this, regarding one Max Caster of AEW. Is that the big talking point about AEW right now, or the state of AEW as a promotion? No, but that's the hottest topic of the day right now, and I know that we're both heated about it. There's a fly. Yeah. This topic is so shit. There's a fly flying around me. I'm trying to knock it out of the air.
We'll get to like the good stuff in AEW, like the big topic, like literally like tonight's Homecoming, and that's a big show, and yada yada yada, all that great stuff.
Yeah,
but we have to talk about this because this pissed me off. It pissed you off. It pissed a lot of people off, and So for those who don't know, Max Caster did one of his raps, and I will say, first and foremost, for the most part, I've enjoyed his past raps. Like, he's figured out a way of, being pretty funny and burning his opponent before getting into the match. But he has taken it too far, to say the least. Just way too far. So he mocked the mental health of Simone Biles, and he also brought up I forget the guy's name, the lacrosse scandal.
We don't want to. I don't want to bring. Yeah, it was Duke, the college, but I don't want to bring up the actual.
No, fuck them. And I'm gonna, more so speak on the mental health thing because they weren't the only company to bring it up on one of their shows.
Yeah,
I need to say that. However, they did it in the worst possible way. Like, they used it as an insult. Who was he facing? I don't even know who he was facing.
It was an 8-man tag match where it was the Acclaimed with
Varsity Blondes, right?
Yeah, they were against Varsity Blondes and another team. I can look that up for you, but it's not. It's inconsequential.
No.
So.
And as someone that has dealt with mental health 2, knows a lot of people that deal with mental health. 3, who has followed the Simone Biles story very closely. I just thought this was disgusting, despicable, and the fact that they were willing to still air it. I know that they have since deleted it from the taping. It's absolutely shameful, and I don't. AEW does a lot of good things lately, but this is a good time to remind them that they're not perfect either. And I just, I need to understand why they thought that was a point to attack, especially with how much is going on. There's there's heel heat, and then there's just you being a fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
And that's where we are, where it's not heel heat anymore. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. I am assuming they're very much down the same range. It's just terrible.
Tony Khan on Wednesday on Busted Open Radio addressed the situation as well, saying regarding Max Caster's rap as terrible. He was not out there in the moment when he did it. It was not during Dynamite. I was in the back when Max said that this rap. I'd not heard it until last night. Truthfully, that being Tuesday when it was airing. And the editing process should have been caught. We deleted the episode and reposted it with that edited out, but it shouldn't have aired. And he goes on to say that he's basically going to be taking over the editing process of Dark and Elevation himself. Just more fingers in the pies of Tony Khan. Yeah, no, I don't like it either. I don't like what Max Caster said, because it's not just the Simone Biles thing. Like you said, it is the Duke lacrosse rape scandal that's happening as well, which is atrocious. But then it's all happening in like the rivalry storyline right now that is one between the Acclaimed and the Varsity Blondes about being the number one contenders, but also specifically just Max Caster saying that when he wants to have sex or do something with Julia Hart, who I believe is 17. 19. Okay, thank God. I was about to look that up to confirm. I'm glad.
Doesn't make it much better, but it does make it better. But it's just terrible.
Makes it legal at the very least.
Yeah, that's about the amount of better, I guess.
But it's the thing. There's multiple things for me. One, it's you can't help but think about all this entire situation. Think about the speaking out movement. I at least I can't.
Right.
On the other hand, it's not. I don't know how I feel. I hate the whole situation. It's atrocious. You shouldn't be saying that stuff. He said it before. Max Caster said it before, I believe, saying that he goes around and like asks people about whether or not this is okay, whether or not this is fine. When he's rapping. I presume that he was still doing that. If that's the case, find new people. I don't know. I want to know who those. I'm not saying I don't want to know who those people are, but those people need to have their own morals checked at the door there, because it's. And I think maybe that's the argument to make, is that what. Obviously, like, mental health is a big thing in our world today. It's obviously like it's been. Brought into the zeitgeist way more than it has ever before. And part of heel heat is generating that emotional, visceral reaction. But when you're gathering heel heat, is there a line to it? And I would argue that the mental health part, which is obviously something that is going to get everyone upset, is that good heel heat? Is that bad heel heat? I would say it's bad. I would say it's not. There's much better ways to get heel heat. I would say the Duke lacrosse line is even worse, because there are victims involved in that one.
Yeah.
I think the whole situation is very. We're talking about state of wrestling here. I think the whole situation is very prevalent in some of the minute issues. I don't want to minimize it too much, but some of the minute issues of AEW. They do a lot of great things every single week, but there are these like slip-ups that happen that it's just like, how did this come through? And I also feel like maybe it's almost because it's AEW, it feels worse because of how rarely they do something bad, in my opinion. But it's like one of these things where it's like, oh, that's bad. Oh, it's even worse, the Duke thing. Then you have the Julia Hart situation with the Eiffel towering jokes. It's just like, and this is like the third or fourth week of that joke. It's just, I don't know. I don't know, man. it's so frustrating to see that on AEW because everyone watches it to expect better things, and then you watch Dark on free on YouTube, and you see these jokes coming across, and it's just like we, as a society, we should be doing better, especially wrestling. Like I brought up a year after speaking out, we should be doing better than those kind of jokes, that kind of heat, because that is not heat. That is not the point of wrestling. It's just very frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much more to put on to it. I think you know, really summed it up, bringing up speaking out and just the absurdity of saying something like that. And like you said, for a lot of people, AEW has this like honeymoon phase of sorts still. And when you have something come out like this, especially in a period where I think they're heating up more than they ever have before. Like, don't get me wrong, I think AEW has done their best, especially during the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
Pound for pound, they've probably been the best American promotion since they really kicked off. I'd say probably since the first Dynamite and on, because that's really when they jumped in. I don't really count. I'll say the first All Out actually, because that's within the same like month.
Sure.
But this is not the first time they've had something like this. But this is by far the worst, if that makes sense. And I just hope I'm hopeful that someone like Tony Khan just won't let this happen again, because that seems like the kind of guy he is. And hopefully it doesn't, you know, I don't think it's going to hurt them too much either moving forward. I think with, you know, All Out coming out, the potential signings that were being rumored, which we'll get to, like, this is what we're supposed to be excited about in AEW. And to shift over from the Max Caster stuff into the state of wrestling idea and what AEW is, I'll say that this is the most excited I have been for AEW. Like, I was someone that I've always been interested. I've always watched every episode. I've been intrigued, but there were times where I wasn't fully invested, and maybe it was just because of the pandemic, and you know that happened with most wrestling. But there was just a time where I was just trying to fully get myself into it. I liked a few things on the show, but I didn't always like the entire show.
Yeah.
And over the past, you know, probably 3-4 months, I've started to get it, and then the fans come back, and that's really when you can tell AEW is hitting on all cylinders. Now, don't get me wrong, I could complain about the women's division. I will complain about the women's division down in a few minutes. But as a long time fan of a certain wrestler that might better be showing up on August 20th, I could not be more excited about AEW. I really can't. And I know there's other wrestlers that, you know, might be showing up, yada yada yada, but like this one is the one.
Yeah.
Like I don't think people understand that CM Punk, he's the one that moves the needle.
Yeah.
Like when they got Jericho like to come to AEW, that was the original needle. That was who they needed to make this like a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think what they've done since then, you know, adding the likes of Brody Lee, rest in peace. You know, I'm of course drawing a blank here because I can't think, but
Miro, Andrade, Malachi Black.
Right. I don't mean to say all the WWE guys. But
sure.
But I think those three especially, and I think, you know, the amount of buzz that each have created, they've made these additions every couple months that keep the brand fresh. And sometimes people think that's actually a detriment to the company because it's just we're going to get to a point where it's too much WWE guys. But to me, those three especially don't make me feel like it's WWE. I never felt that with those three when they showed up. Mm-hmm. Miro I did, but that's when he was a gamer and he wasn't in the right role.
Yeah.
Like now he's in the perfect role and I'm all in on him. But none of them move the needle. No offense to them.
No, I completely agree. I mean, let's talk about the signings, or presumed signings, alleged signings.
Listen. If August 20th comes and CM Punk doesn't show up, I'm never watching AEW again. I'm making that guarantee right now because I will be so broken.
Can
Because
you
you can't do that. You can't do that.
can you imagine? I mean,
I can't
obviously,
imagine it.
and I
I
am,
can.
and it's my belief. It's my entire religion's based around it. No, like the just talking about CM Punk, the ideal, the belief that they're doing the United Center. There's chants of CM Punk. They cut to the chants. There's Easter eggs throughout the show. I'm sure tonight, when you've already seen it, there were Easter eggs on Homecoming as well.
They're not holding back.
It's very obvious that this is the thing. There's no way. Like I could see maybe like MJF doing one bit if it was kind of like a funny thing. But the
Tony
fact that
Khan's
like
refused to deny it too.
Yeah.
He just is like, oh, that's interesting. Like he's not even saying no, that's not happening.
No.
Like,
But based on that alone, based on that, the hype that they've created, the sellout of the United Center with no card, no promise of Punk, just the belief of Punk.
for an hour-long show. It's not even
Imagine,
Dynamite.
imagine the rating for that show, that episode of TV, 10 p.m. after SmackDown.
It's gonna get okay. So it's gonna
Easily
be the
over a
biggest-
million. Easily over a million.
I just wish it was at 8. Like
Yeah.
just because like that's when you can peak, and I think they'd get even more at the 8 o'clock slot. But they're at least hitting a million in the 10 o'clock slot is a huge win for any show.
Yeah.
So that's man, I am so excited, and the problem is,
Oh, what's
and
the problem?
here's the problem. I have gotten so used to these letdowns of CM Punk not showing up on rumors that like I can't fully get myself to believe it. Like I want to think that goes off and the Cult of Personality starts playing and the place goes unglued and the CM Punk chants are breaking my ear. I want to think that's definitely happening, but as a CM Punk fan, as a wrestling fan, I gotta calm myself down and be like, okay, it might not happen. Maybe they're gonna be wild and be like, you know what? This is when we make Bryan Danielson the biggest heel in our freaking company, and we'll have him show up. And then that's the other signing that we're gonna get to, of course. And then I've seen people be like, what if MJF comes out to Cult of Personality? And then I'm like, then I'm gonna kill someone. That's what's gonna happen.
I love the idea of MJF coming out to Cult of Personality as like a one-off bit, and then you follow it up with CM Punk coming out to his ROH theme, Miseria Cantara, or Cantara. I love that idea that like we spoil everybody and then you get the heel heat on MJF. Real riot hours over here, and then like the ROH theme comes in. Everyone's banging on the guardrails.
The only problem is I think it needs to be Cult of Personality for
I
CM
agree.
Punk. Like,
I definitely agree.
he has brought that song pretty much everywhere with him now, and that's we saw the Living Color thing this week with our Ringside News, and that was hilarious. I just personally, that alone has me excited. We could get into the Hangman stuff and whatnot in a few minutes, but to me, there's no bigger potential story in wrestling right now than the return of CM Punk. Like him coming back and pair that with Brian Danielson. I don't think there's two bigger free agents that you can bring on in wrestling that are going to make people want to watch, bring interest from outside of what you already have.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, because they're hitting 1 million weekly now. This, I'm telling you, this confidently, I think this could get them to Raw numbers by the end of the year, because I expect Raw to keep going down because we still have Christmas time, and Christmas time is death for Raw. Christmas time is death for most wrestling, but especially Raw. And
because it's not just Christmas, it's football as well.
Yeah, and Raw's bad. So like that all goes hand in hand. But I couldn't be more excited for that. And you know, we're gonna get into more of AEW. AEW is probably gonna be our longest topic today because it's
just
lot.
so good. good, man. It's just so good to watch good wrestling. Like,
All right, so I'm gonna bring you down now, and we're gonna talk about the women's division. All right, so here's my problem with the women's division. It doesn't exist.
I remember we started the show saying that I'm the optimist, or you're the optimist, and I'm the pessimist.
Okay, so I have to be the pessimist when it comes to the AEW women's division because it pisses me off on a weekly basis. And I don't understand how you have talent like Riho, Serena Deeb, Hikaru Shida. I'm gonna be missing people in like 2 seconds because I'm an idiot. I'll put Chris Statlander in there. I think people really like her. Like I think she's getting popular and over. Did I say Thunder Rosa?
No, but
Thunder Rosa is the one I meant. You have like that batch who I'd say is probably your core plus Britt Baker, who is the goddamn champion. They should all be on TV revolving every few weeks. Then you have Jade Cargill, who felt like was going to be a big deal and has kind of just faded off because she has this weird manager.
Is cooled off completely. I mean,
right.
They're still like doing stuff on Dark and Elevation, but like,
who cares, right? Like all you needed to do was
a million people aren't watching Dark and Elevation,
right? Like just put a squash match on there for 2 minutes, and you keep her hot.
Yeah,
like that's all you got to do. And like, I think if the rumor via Fightful Select is true, they are bringing in someone that I think can really be a key player for them.
Mm-hmm.
Which of course is the former Ruby Riott, Ruby Soho, great name.
Mm-hmm.
I think she could be not only a serious player for them, but someone to build around because she's still young. She's one of the more underrated women's wrestlers overall. I think, I being in WWE for so long, that just people don't recognize how great you can be. And I think she is a piece that, really brings that core together. Like, because I name them off. And I think you can agree that there's a lot of talent there. It's just a matter of using them now.
I completely... Sorry, my cat just jumped onto my desk, so it happens. Hey, Jude, do you want to say anything to the people? Do you want to say anything to the... he's not much of a purr, Jude.
How do you feel about Riho being non-existent again?
It's frustrating.
No, I was asking.
Oh, Kat. Sorry, Jude. Hey, Jude. What do you think? Do you want to talk to the mic, Jude? Do you like this?
To me, the cat feels it's unacceptable, and I agree.
He's more of a Yuka Sakazaki kind of guy.
Who's already gone. If we want to just keep touching in. They brought Yuka Sakazaki back to put her on Dark Elevation 3 times and Dynamite once. So like you really want to just keep adding to how bad this women's division is? Because it's really bad. And it's the worst part about AEW because I think AEW, besides like having me watch Matt Hardy, it's really good.
I think I don't want to talk about this topic to death just because it's everyone knows how bad it is. But I just want to talk about like what's frustrating about it is that it feels like you're doing the DMD.
Yeah, because that's the only segment women get on the show.
Well, there's two things. One, it's that Britt Baker's the obvious draw of the women's division right now. She was getting the numbers and whatnot, and they're always booking based off the ratings. But now that it's just Britt Baker as champion, that's the only segment because we don't have anything else happening. Like you said, I think taking 2 minutes out of someone else's match, do a squash with the Jade Cargill, I think works. But the other frustrating thing about it is that it feels like they set up the women's division to fail sometimes, like putting them into the semi-main event time slot, which is always like the worst time slot. That could also be a chicken egg situation where it's like, is it the worst time slot because it's the women's division matches? Is it the worst time slot because no one's paying attention at that point and they're getting, watching something else or whatever? Why is that happening all the time? Why do they keep putting the women's division? Why is it only one match? Obviously, they're doing a bunch of other stuff on Dark and Elevation. They got storylines happening there. They had a storyline between Big Swole and Diamante. That's kind of ending a little bit. Actually, no, it's not ending. I think it just started technically. But it's like they're doing things, but they're always in dark and elevation in the background, and they keep mentioning all the time that like we're really working on the women's division. Everyone in here needs to learn better, watch for the hard camps. It's like, man, what is? I don't. It's just all of it's frustrating because all of it feels like it's excuses for things. It feels like they're setting them up to fail sometimes. Is that actually what's happening? Is it chicken egg? I don't know what is happening because you're right. They're like they always show a women's match, but it's always never anything. I feel like it is never something exciting. There's never hasn't been on Dynamite in forever. Chris hasn't been on there in a while. Jade, like you said, brought up out of nowhere, huge interest. It appeared, and then just dropped.
The biggest example is Hikaru Shida.
Yeah.
Has not been on AEW Dynamite since she lost the belt.
Mm-hmm.
That was the person you gave the belt for a year, because you needed her to hold that belt for a year. Because, truth be told, she had to carry you when you know there was some rocky months there, especially just like the roster because Chris got hurt, the Japanese talent couldn't compete. There was a period there, but now we're at a point where I named off all these names. You have a division that you can give them 2 matches a show, like tonight tonight. You'll hear this, of course, later, but on Homecoming, it's the Bunny versus Layla Hirsch in a NWA women's eliminator match, not even for their own title.
No.
And it's just that's the one thing that really saddens me because like I don't need to have a Matt Hardy segment every week. I don't need to have a Matt Hardy segment at all. Like I do not care about Matt Hardy in 2021 as a guy that owns a bunch of people. I simply don't. That's where you can give me a women's match that lasts 10 minutes because the viewership, the spikes in people that are watching like the women's stuff based off of what we've learned. So I'm just not sure what is wrong here. Like I understand you have your Kenny Omegas and your Hangman Pages and your Codys that you have to all fit on the show. I get that. It's fine. And Cody's not even on the show every week. Cody's like here and there. He'll probably disappear after tonight. Like it's just infuriating and I don't see a solution coming anytime soon.
The proposed solution might be Rampage. The on the Cody Media call, which you were on, Scotty. Cody mentioned that Rampage will be more about the fight, so maybe that's a place where you can move some of the just fighting matches to the storyline stuff where it's like we need this. The next beat is a match that has to happen, and that's the part where that's where Rampage is going to be, but. Even with an extra hour of content, or really 42 minutes of content, presumably there's going to be one women's match on Rampage. Presumably, who the hell knows? But on the other hand, like we said, you got allegedly CM Punk coming in. You have Malachi Black and Andrade already in. You got Ruby Riott, which may help. I think Ruby Soho could help in the women's division. I think that's a name. I think that could be really interesting. But you also got Bryan Danielson allegedly coming in as well. So you have 3 people on top of the 2 people that have already just come in that need to have time slots on the show. You're building up still to the next pay-per-view, and these are all even then. I don't know. If
I think they're build-ups to pay-per-views. I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like they forget about them sometimes. Yeah. Like, because last time we got Cassidy, Pac, and Omega in, 2-week span. Like, there was no story until, Orange Cassidy was like, hey, how you doing? I'm here. Like, that's... And I understand. Like, you want to put on big TV shows. That's huge. But pay-per-views are where you're supposed to pay things off. And...
Well, to be fair, we're still, a month away from All Out.
Yes, but... I don't know who's facing Kenny Omega for the title. I don't. I couldn't tell you.
That's fair, yeah, especially if Adam Page losing. That's fair. I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's fine. Because I've enjoyed every pay per view practically and every build up to the pay per view. So I think it's okay because I haven't been upset with it. It is this sort of build or whatever's happening is eerily similar to me with the last pay per view because the last pay per view cycle, Adam Page was also the number one contender. Brian Cage beats him, and then they went into the number 2, number 3 Pac Orange Cassidy nonsense.
Yeah.
Which was good and I liked it. But we're in the sort of the same sort of bubble right now where it's like, oh, who's going to happen? The number 2, number 3 slots right now, well, now it got bumped up, are Jungle Boy Christian. So Christian Cage, you should presume that it's going to be another eliminator between the two, which is, like I said, the same thing they did last pay-per-view cycle. So I'm not entirely like the most confident. I think it's fine. I also think that the world title, tag titles, I should say, are very, I don't know what's happening there because now that Page lost, it's like, okay, well, what? We're going to do the Acclaimed versus Varsity Blondes. That's what we were building to, apparently, in the background on Dark and Elevation. So I don't know if that's going to be feasible right now anymore.
Yeah, see, like, you can't tell me what the pay-per-view looks like. No, it's impossible.
If it's Punk versus, if it's Young Bucks versus Punk and Danielson, now we're talking.
I don't think they're going to do that just yet. I think only because I don't think Danielson's debuting until at least All Out.
I think I mean, the rumor right now for Danielson is Grand Slam, which I think is a good idea.
Makes sense.
Presuming that it happens with Delta variations and now Lambda variations and all this jazz that's out there. But I don't know. All in all, I feel like AEW is the greatest wrestling company today, probably. Definitely in America, top 3 definitely in the world, if not my favorite. I would definitely say it's probably my favorite looking at my July matches of the month. But it's one of the yeah, no. I'm a stan, as it were. But I think it's one of the greatest companies right now. I think they have all these small things that are very frustrating. You can point at frustrations to be upset about, and you're hoping that they do things to change it, but we've been hoping that for like a year, 2 years at this point. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening with them.
I just need better pay-per-view build and in a women's division that is on the show. That's all I'm asking for, because I like I said, the relationship with New Japan has to excite a lot of people. Excites me. And Impact. I'll include Impact, except all we get from that is Gallows and Anderson.
Oh yeah, baby, Doc Dangley. You know that's a great pick. That's a great pickup.
Which I would say is the actual loss of the relationship.
How dare you? How dare you say about Doc Dangley and the G1 2012 finalist himself, Carl Anderson?
Who destroyed him with that?
I don't know.
It was like a few weeks ago. Someone's like, you peaked when you went into the G1 in 2012.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Jay White. Jay White said that on Impact.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. He just murdered that man in the middle of the ring.
I can't wait. Dude, next year it's the 10-year anniversary. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he'll be back by then. Great. Yeah. Awesome. New Japan's a whole other conversation.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel like AEW,
there's a lot of good happening.
AEW has a lot of good faith things, but like there's like aspects of it which is bad faith. Like not I don't want to say bad faith, but there's no faith in like how they're gonna turn around the women's division. There's like a little bit of like maybe Soho will help, maybe not the Iconics, Inspiration, whatever their new name is.
No offense, wouldn't help. I don't think they add much help. I think Ruby does. Are they waiting for like a very big one to fall for the people? Because
I don't know if it is. I don't know who that would be. Like, I don't know.
I would just say start using the Impact knockouts because you have a very good roster there. You combine the two, it's very good. I'm hopeful Rampage changes it up. That being said,
let's move into another conversation. Why don't we?
Yeah, I just want to say AEW is good. I didn't want to like say I hate it. It's just like there is a very good side of AEW, and then there's these couple things they still need to fix. If they fix those, I don't know if anyone can touch them moving forward. But for now, just connect the pieces. They're at like 3/4 of the way full.
Yeah. What do you want to go into next? We got a bunch of idea topics.
Let's just
points
get
here.
WWE out of God.
Well, I don't want to do WWE yet because I feel like we're just gonna bury them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be we're burying.
No, I might acknowledge, and then we'll bury them.
Let's do a quick visit into some other stuff real
Okay,
quickly.
cool.
MLW. Is that a great second topic point? That's a real quick one, I think.
That'll be a quick one.
Did
They're
you-
not
did you
doing
s-
anything bad.
Did you see Battle Riot?
So I haven't watched it yet,
How dare
but
you?
that's mostly because I already knew what happened, and I was like, I was looking at the lineup of people in it, and I was like,
Battle Riot,
Ah.
the first couple of minutes of Battle Riot were great because the first four people were
it was like 54 minutes.
yeah, it was a long
That's why I
goddamn
didn't
video.
watch it.
But the first 4 minutes of Battle Riot were TJP, Tom Lawler, Lee Moriarty, and Davey Richards, and I was like, that was the
like the
first
three of them.
four, and I was like, this is a sexy four right here. This is what I want to see. This is the kind of wrestling I want to see that gets my Doc Danglies up.
You stop at the Doc Danglies.
Hey man, I'll stop it when he stops, and he'll never stop. Yeah, no, I thought MLW has been over the pandemic, over this sort of break, sort of been what they always do in the secret house at the table. They've been building up a solid roster of more additions of Lee Moriarty, Davey Richards, Alex Kane, Aramis. I think they have some solid roster members coming up. I'm intrigued about what's happening moving forward. There's talks of moving it Fusion off of YouTube and onto a actual TV platform. I know actually I believe that's the case because they're going
Vice, right?
They're moving to Vice, yeah. So I presume that's going off of YouTube altogether. So they're getting some more money, presumably, depending on whatever that contract is. So I'm starting to be intrigued. MLW is also one of those things. It's similar to Impact, where it's always like a solid short watch and a solid easy watch. But it's like, for the most part, it's like fine to good. There's anything that's like
great.
yeah. There's nothing
Amazing.
And if it's the case, it's a rarity, I would say. There's a couple things I'm like, oh, I really enjoy that. And there's a couple other things where I was like, God, this Mads Kruger Hammerstone feud is hot garbage. I don't know what's happening over there. But it's just very frustrating sometimes to watch that. But I mean, I would maybe recommend Battle Riot. I maybe also won't, because after those 4 minutes, it kind of just got garbage. It kinda got
Yeah, see,
crappy.
I don't think I can. I like to watch so much other wrestling that I don't know if I could take 54 minutes out of my day to watch a subpar MLW battle royal.
No, yeah. It wasn't the greatest. And I don't think MLW is great when it does those things. I think what they have going for them is just interesting
Lucha
people you've never
Underground.
seen. Yeah. Lucha Underground I'm very interested in because I was a huge Lucha Underground fan back in the day. And I just think they have a lot of interesting people. It's like the same thing with who is that promotion? Not really Impact because they're doing the Forbidden Door stuff. But MLW is very interesting because they, in a weird way, because of how the Forbidden Doors worked out, they now kind of have a lot of exclusive roster members. Like they have Fatu and Lee Moriarty, like these kind of people that you'll see on TV. They have a lot of exclusive roster members. So because they're not working with anybody, you can just see those people weekly on television, and that makes me excited because that's like where I can go to see these people I like. I don't have to watch everything, which is not bad. But, it's not bad, no good. But I don't know. There's something about MLW that I'm just like, I'm ready. I want. Maybe it's like they need something that just takes them over the top. I don't know what that is. Maybe they need a big name, but I don't know what that hell will be.
I like Jacob Fatu. That's
a great name.
I like Lee. I'm happy Lee Moriarty went there. I know they also grabbed Casey Navarro, who's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like they're making the right moves. It's just a matter of, putting something together that isn't just Battle Riot, if that makes sense. Like, I don't mean that to sound terrible. Well, I don't think they need a big name. I think it's more of they just need to put on a good stretch. Like they just need to put on something consistent. week after week after week, and I think that's something they can do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like MLW is like what Impact would be if it didn't have the Forbidden Door, if that makes sense. Like they don't have access to bring in like a Jay White or Kojima or an Omega. They don't have like the thing that puts them over the top. I think that's a good transition maybe into Impact. Impact, like we talked about off mic, very solid watch, very easy watch in my opinion. They have Jay White in there for right now. They got Jay White in what? This is Impact. Can we talk about that? This is
Okay.
This is dumb little TNA Impact getting Jay White on their television. What is happening in 2021?
You know what not AEW, Impact has that I think a lot of people don't recognize. Like you said, how like MLW would be in like the same range. What Impact has is two guys that I think you can build a promotion around right now. And that is Josh Alexander, who I think is just this absolute stud of a guy. Not only is he like doing great stuff as X Division champion, but he should be a guy that, you know, I think beats Omega. I think that makes all the sense in the world.
Completely agree. I think they're even setting it up as such. I think Josh Alexander is the perfect person to set him up. Get Team Canada together, put him in there against a fellow Canadian to take down Kenny Omega. I think that's perfect.
And then you have a guy like Chris Bay, who I love Chris Bay. And I don't think a lot of people know about him yet. Like, I think he's still kind of hidden despite being on Impact. And he's just becoming more a star. And the fact that he is now Bullet Club, people are going to know. And I think that just that's great for Impact. Like, having someone that's signed to your roster, part of Bullet Club, and I know Bullet Club lost a lot of its luster, that's still a big deal.
It's still a rub at the end of the day.
Yeah, and him teaming with Jay White, like, that is never a bad thing.
No.
So that combined with the Forbidden Door and how great Deonna Purrazzo's been as a champion, like, I think she's the best women's champion right now in at least America. Probably just America, because we're not going to go to Japan. I'll fight someone. But I think she's just doing such incredible things. And
I agree.
She's making you notice with a division that has had some ups and downs. They've lost, you know, the Kylie Ray and Taya Valkyrie. Like, those are two big names that they've lost. And she's still, you know, running it. And with all these releases and the relationship now with NWA, and
AEW.
I think that AEW relationship needs to use those women together. Like, I think that would be huge.
That's my thing. Is that
Thunder Rosa was just on.
That's true.
And that was awesome.
That was
like
true.
I popped big time when her music hit. It wasn't like the best match ever, but it was pretty good. It was fine.
And now they have, I guess, Chelsea Green in there. I don't know what's happening.
I don't like Chelsea Green, but good,
no,
good
but it's a name that has brand recognition for Impact fans. He's kind of like she's kind of like an Eric Young type, which is like, I would say Eric Young's a little bit better, but you know,
I get
that brand recognition. Yeah, no, I think Impact has a lot of solid things that are just like there that are just there. It's like, hey, look, you know, they're underneath the radar. Impact is. I'm going to slow myself down. Impact is underneath the radar. They have a lot of solid stuff. That I think their women's division is very solid. I do think they have some weak points to it, but I think for the most part, it's solid. If you brought,
they lost Kiera Hogan too.
They just recently by time. Maybe a couple more weeks. I'm not, you know, but that's
like 2 or 3.
Spoiler warning, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but I think that could hopefully. Kiera Hogan's a loss, but maybe you bring in a bigger name. Maybe, you know, with the NWA, maybe you can. Obviously, you're bringing in kind of a Mickie James, maybe
big name.
You're bringing in. There's no other big names in NWA.
No, well, they're not bringing Kylie in, so that's the only other name that would be of use. But I still think having the Mickie James connection is pretty big.
Yeah, and I would really like to see some women show up cross-brand between Impact and AEW. I think that's the part that's kind of frustrating. I think at some point it's going to happen, but obviously they're just sort of using the Forbidden Door aspect for those New Japan people, and then for like
the Elite.
and then Omega, Don Callis, Impact stuff, like you said, the Elite. I would like to see it more. I mean, obviously they just did Thunder Rosa, which is technically NWA at the time before she signed to AEW.
Awesome.
That was a great surprise. But it's those sort of things where it's like, okay, you know, maybe we can do something here. I'm just interested. I think Impact is very solid. Same thing. I think there's something where we can get better over with Impact. Let's boost the women's division even more. Is there any signings available to them that you would like to see? For me, I think honestly, Peyton Royce and Billy Kay, Cassie Lee, and whatever the other one's name is, I forget Billy Kay's, Jessica McKay.
Yes.
I think they could do well in Impact.
They could fit.
I think they're the perfect fit. Pair them up with Tennille Dashwood. You got a nice triumvirate there where they can just, you know, run the table a little bit, and then, you know, they can be some challenges for Deonna Purrazzo. I think they have something there that I think those are good signings to pick up if they haven't or looking to it already. I don't know what else to bring in there. I would love if like Impact did have like other connections with other women's, especially like Joshi talent. I think that'd be very fun. I think if I know, but I think AEW is obviously the connection with the Joshi world. I wish that other Forbidden Door members picked that up as well, picked up those Joshi relationships as well.
So
all I'm saying is let's booster the women's division even more.
Yeah, I think boosting Impact more is also something. I've been thinking about this and like where this person fits in the wrestling world moving forward, and I think it's pretty much everywhere because the talent is clearly there. What do you think Bray Wyatt would be a better fit for Impact than AEW off the bat?
Correct. I don't know why I said correct because like that's
because like
it for me it's and I even tweeted this out. I think Bray Wyatt or Wyndham Rotunda or whatever. I just hope
he goes by Wyndham. I like that name.
I think Wyndham is a great wrestling name. You know that
he's teasing the cult of Wyndham.
Yeah, I think that's a great cult leader name. I think he could be great. I'm not. Ow, Jude, what the hell? I don't think I would like to necessarily see like a Fiend-like character.
No. I like Bray.
A Bray Wyatt cult spooky swamp monster character that maybe has like light powers. I don't care. I think
I know what you mean.
I think would be very interesting more in Impact than AEW because Impact already has a built-in universe for him to live in. They got, you know, he can be with Decay, but then that would be a 5-person faction that'd be a little too big.
Black Taurus is already busy not belonging.
Yeah, yeah. And I think even better, they just reintroduced Su Yung back into the universe and teamed her up with a Su Yung-esque version of Kimberly. So, you know, put Bray Wyatt into that faction as well. I think
bring Rowan in.
Bring Rowan in. Why not? That'd be fun. Bring in
maybe like one other guy that's big.
Oh,
you can bring in Braun, but like
I don't know. I was gonna say let's bring in Bo Dallas.
Ooh, I would love that actually. I always thought Bo would have been really good with his brother in some shape or form. But yeah, I'm happy we agree that Bray and Impact would make a lot of sense. I think
the tongue in cheek. Honestly, I think the tongue-in-cheek nature of Bray and maybe even that Firefly Funhouse stuff, that tongue-in-cheek comedy, that sort of that campiness that Impact has, I think all of that can really suit a Bray Wyatt quote-unquote creative genius that exists. I think that's the spot for him. I don't want to see him on AEW. Let's put him in MLW. Maybe that's the big name.
No.
But I think Impact is the spot for him, and I think that's where he should go. I think that's where they should get the pickup. I think that could be very interesting. Match style. That's the thing about like Bray Wyatt is that there's no one I ever want to see him fight against. Like I'm like, oh, who in Impact would be a cool match against Bray Wyatt? I don't know, Moose. I don't know. Like there's nobody that's like I can really think of off the top of my head where it's like
I think people don't. I think Bray's a good wrestler. I've seen him have good matches. Of course, they're like Daniel Bryan, so that's like duh.
Yeah.
But I think the beauty of having Bray go there, maybe not on like a full contract, like maybe like it's just like he's kind of a freelance type guy, because if he can rebuild himself there, which I think he'd have to, because he'd have to rebuild this whole new character once again,
Yeah.
which if there's anyone that can do it, I'm sure it can be him. If he gets his own vision, of course. And maybe, you know, a year down the line, him showing up in AEW has a feeling, if that makes sense. But to me, if he shows up in AEW in 3 months, I don't know if I'm going to care that much, because he needs to build himself back. And that's not his fault that he has to build himself back. WWE neutered him, destroyed him, and left him out to dry so many times that he already has rebuilt himself twice. So do it again.
That's a good point.
Take advantage of what Impact's, you know, presence is. Take advantage of those relationships. Like working with people, like the oddness of, you know, Bray Wyatt showing up and him taking out like Josh Alexander when Josh Alexander might be world champion in a couple months. That's tempting because it fits how Impact works.
Yeah.
That's how Impact works.
Ooh.
And
that's actually not a bad match right there.
when is Bound for Glory?
Let me pull up the
Is
calendar.
that November or October?
I think it's October. I'll look it up real quick. Because Bray Wyatt presumably has what, 90 days, I assume, or they,
Yeah.
because it's they cut him, right? They released him.
Yeah.
When did he get released? Was that
Saturday?
July 31st?
Yep.
Okay, so Bound for Glory is going to be on October 23rd. So we got to look up 90 days after July 31st. I think that might be cutting it.
Yeah, I think it's too close for comfort. Unless like they messed up his deal or something.
October 29th. That would be the week after, the Friday after Bound for Glory. So he can be on the return home from Bound for Glory. But I think that'd be interesting. Oh man, that could do it. You do Josh Alexander versus Kenny Omega at Bound for Glory. Josh Alexander wins to get the Impact right after that Thursday. Bray Wyatt actually technically can't be there, but he can't be there till Friday or whatever. Assuming it's 90 days. But Josh Alexander versus Bray Wyatt is very interesting because I was thinking about what his wrestling style is, and I think you nailed it on the head. Bray Wyatt is not the guy that will enhance other people. Bray Wyatt can be enhanced by, you know, like your Styles, your Cenas, your Bryan Danielsons now. I think he is a guy that, like, when put up against the greats, can have a really great match. When he is put up against, you know, people that are beneath him, Braun, he's not going to have a good match. I mean, look at the. I mean, it was a
very few people had good matches with Braun Strowman, to be fair.
Yeah, I think that's more about Braun than anything else.
It's like Roman Reigns.
But I don't think Bray Wyatt brings people down. I think Bray Wyatt is he is a multiplier, if you will. You know, if you have high numbers, he will make the match even better. If you have low numbers, he's not going to make the match any better. Right. He might make it something. I'm talking
normal version of Bray Wyatt, not the Fiend people. Like the Fiend is a different breed of ridiculousness that doesn't actually like wrestle. We're not going to go into the Fiend.
I don't like the Fiend. I'm not a fan. I'll go on record to say I'm not a fan of the Fiend. I've never been a fan of the Fiend. I actually defended the Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell segment.
No!
No!
Cancel
me, baby.
End the show now.
I defended at the time because I was like, no, it's a good idea. I don't even remember what my reasons were, but since then, it's just like, it's dumb. I'm not.
My whole point is, cult leader Bray Wyatt, Wyndham. That's where you go. Impact sounds like the spot. Of course, he has friends in AEW, but my ultimate hope is this man can refine the passion if he's lost it, because he has a lot to offer to the wrestling world still. And that's all I'm going to say about Impact. I don't know how we ended up on Bray Wyatt. I'm going to take the blame for that one. But Impact's good. You should watch it. There you go.
Yeah. I agree. I think Impact is worth a watch at the very least. I think Impact is one of those companies that. Do you think Impact? This might be a tough question to answer, and I'll be very honest. Do you think Impact is at all better than like NXT? I go back and forth every once in a while because some Impact does really shitty things, really dumb bits. But NXT has maybe better wrestling. Sometimes I'm kind of low on the wrestling. Even
the thing about NXT is they have Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is great. However, I can see where someone would go back and forth on certain things because NXT has good, and then NXT has bad.
NXT has a great history too.
They do,
but now I would argue they've been WWEized. In a way. They still have like interesting people like Samoa Joe, but I would say there's something the Frankie Monet bits. I'm like, okay, I don't care.
Well, NXT is in the current point where they have a champion who doesn't fit what NXT has always been.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they have two champions because Raquel fucking sucks too. That being said,
I watched the latest NXT. Am I supposed to cheer for Dakota Kai or not?
Dude,
I think she's the heel here.
I don't know how anyone cheers against Dakota Kai because Dakota Kai is the automatic babyface in my mind. I can't cheer for. Okay, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We were on Impact. Watch Impact.
Oh, that was me doing a subtle transition to NXT.
Oh, are we doing NXT and WWE at the same time?
Yeah, we can if you like.
Yeah, let's just put them into one because they're all kind of meshed now, a days with the conversation.
But we'll focus on NXT first, just because that's also I consider almost NXT as its own brand,
right?
Because it is practically its own world nowadays.
I like a lot of wrestlers on NXT, so it frustrates me when certain things don't connect for me. I think the Joe and Karrion Kross stuff has actually been excellent, and the only thing hurting that feud is what Karrion Kross is doing on Monday nights. I think people would be more invested in it had that not happened. And I think Samoa Joe winning another title is always a good thing, which I would be stunned if he didn't.
No, I'm fairly confident that Samoa Joe is going to be winning that NXT championship, especially with Karrion Kross back on Raw. I think you can almost continue the Karrion Kross story in a way of being a dominating champion. And I think it serves NXT better if it is Karrion Kross.
Right.
Sorry, not Karrion Kross. Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Big stretch for my boy Jude. God, big stretch.
The thing with NXT is they got the Samoa Joe, they got MSK, they got Io Shirai, they got Saray, they got Tommaso and Thatcher, who I think are a great team. They got Pete Dunne. Like, there's a bunch of good things there. But like you said, some of it's so WWE-ized.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. And
why are we doing sketches of Io Shirai and Zoe Stark at a Japanese restaurant? What is this sketch? I don't want to see that. I want to see them get along and figure out in the ring, not have a slightly racist Japanese scene that has infinite cuts and editing that they just don't know how to edit. God, they just don't know.
The problem is that they don't know what to do with Io right now.
No.
And which angers the shit out of me. And I'm not sure like what her plans are moving forward. If they're not willing to put her on the main roster, she's first of all better off going back home. That's first and foremost. She's better going off back home. But to me, she's one of the most talented wrestlers they have. Like, her charisma is out. I understand she doesn't speak clear in like perfect English, but I think she does pretty well.
Yeah.
For those things.
But it is WWE, and they're like, you don't speak fluent English, Northern English,
and this team was really stark. I just don't care. I don't care. Like, I was happy when Io won a title, but I don't care. And there's just so much on NXT. I feel like that's where you ultimately end up is like, I don't care.
I think that's the dividing line between WWE main roster for me and
Yes.
NXT. WWE main roster to me is just straight up bad, and I'm not enjoying myself watching it. NXT is, I feel like they're doing some good things or interesting things. It's definitely not the NXT of old, but they're doing nothing that is making me want to care about the product, making me invested in the product. They're just it feels like,
Except for giving me Samoa Joe.
except for Samoa Joe, and I enjoy the Finn
God
Balor
bless him.
NXT. I enjoy the Finn Balor title run as well. I think, and this is my hot take about NXT. I think what ruined NXT, and I think it's another chicken egg situation, but I think what ruined NXT ultimately was becoming a television show and coming off of the network. Because not only they did that and then started hot shotting everything and just changed their booking style to go up against Dynamite, which obviously they ultimately lost and continue to lose on. But I think it showed the audience more of the weaknesses of NXT and its roster because they lost out on editing. They lost out on planning their booking for a month in advance. But they also, the audience discovered, especially with the war, the Wednesday night war, quote unquote, that NXT is probably not as hot of a product as we all thought it was. The network numbers were hidden. We had no idea. And then all of a sudden we have a very clear, analytical ratings talk discussion over this is what the numbers are for NXT. And we're like, okay, they're actually like 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 on a high end.
I saw a great point the other day about NXT. NXT's popularity was never, ever from the TV show. It was always the takeovers. It's always been the takeovers. And I think...
What's that? Hello?
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
I can. Hello.
Oh, okay.
We're good. We're all good.
The screen freeze, so like you're stuck in a spot, but as long as you can hear me, that's all that matters.
That's good.
The
Mr.
idea behind NXT is that the takeovers are can't miss. And I think for the most part, every takeover at least has a couple good matches still. I think the next takeover is actually, could be one of the best in a very long time, just based off what they're doing. And that made me think a lot, like, no one ever cared about the TV. And I didn't always watch the weekly television. I didn't watch the weekly television until really like maybe Adam Cole joined again. Like I didn't care to watch TV every week of NXT until he joined. Because here's the thing with NXT. You can miss the TV show, turn on TakeOver, and you're set. You don't need to see the TV show to get the gist of what's happening. You don't.
No, and I think that goes the same thing of WWE main roster. I think that also goes into the NXT stuff. What NXT was before they became a weekly TV show was a 1-hour program. Like you said, it was easy to watch. It was easy to get invested because it's only 1 hour of your goddamn time. You can't. There's nothing to really. You're not settling down on the couch for 2 hours. You're setting up for 1 hour. You're watching that, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can. And then you get like the fun surprises of a Rick Buggs popping up every once in a while. That's like, oh, that's interesting. That's a fun character. They were more experimental too. Like it was an enjoyable watch.
It was.
Like you said, the takeovers what really were the killer, and it was 4 takeovers a year. I think now it's like 5 or 6.
And I don't get me wrong, I still think the takeovers are great. I do. Like the next one is Samoa Joe, Karrion Kross, Walter versus Dragunov,
Which that should be the goddamn killer right there.
Kushida and Roderick Strong,
Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai,
which I actually look forward to as long as Dakota Kai wins. Swerve and Santos Escobar, like those matches to me, that's a good lineup.
Yeah.
And I think half the matches you don't need to watch the story for. You just want to watch the matches. That's the problem. I think the only story on that show that is worth watching is the Joe Cross stuff, and that's because Samoa Joe is still one of the best at what he does.
Yeah.
But you can watch that on YouTube.
Yeah. I think what also hurts, another thing that hurts NXT into that I don't care about it department is the idea that there are just people that haven't left NXT. Mm-hmm. I think that is a huge detriment because NXT
I think that's what hurt them so bad.
I think what NXT is built off of is the developmental program. It is building people up.
Freshness.
As soon as Gargano stayed, Cole stayed, starting to become Io Shirai stayed. Ciampa, I would say, reinvented himself.
Ciampa has been there forever, and there was a point there before the Thatcher team where no one cared.
Yeah, I would agree. And then it was reinventing your teaming with Thatcher that helped fix that. That made it one of the best tag teams on that whole division. And maybe one of the best tag teams of the year. Maybe they'll get with them.
It is. It definitely is. They've been really good. But I think we're in agreement that you don't need to watch NXT every week. And that is really the same thing as Impact. You don't need to watch Impact every week. I watched Slammiversary and I was caught up in seconds. Yeah. Like I didn't need to watch anything. Because the Kenny stuff, like, that's really all you need to care about, and they showed it all to you in a video package before, and that's really what wrestling can be. I think that's the funny part with AEW is that there is no video package to show for their feuds at pay-per-views because they don't have any, because the feuds aren't real. But you need to watch AEW television because they build up to big dynamites more than anything.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Because they care about the television so much, it is must-see TV. Whereas every other program, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, they're not must-see. Impact is probably the same. Most of these other shows aren't the same. I mean, let's just all talk about it. WWE probably. Let's go straight into the main roster. Let's developmentally go up. That's a shitty transition.
I want to talk about Adam Cole real quick.
Sure.
And this will go in hand more so with the main roster than actually NXT.
Is this in regards to Adam Cole's contract being weirdly up, but also not?
Yes. So, Adam Cole is a guy that never wanted to do anything else besides be in WWE. Mm-hmm. And when you show him in the past couple months that not only is he expendable, but that the main roster, specifically Vince McMahon, does not give a shit about what he has done for the company in NXT. That's where, if Adam Cole leaves at the end of the month and goes to AEW, New Japan, Impact, Ring of Honor, whatever the hell he goes to, that's the biggest domino to fall. Because in any promotion, in my opinion, Adam Cole should be a main event star because he has everything you need. And if you've ever watched him do anything, he's clearly like the nicest and easiest guy to deal with. So the fact that he is even considering leaving tells you all you need to know. And I think people are harping way too much on, well, his, fiance is in AEW. I don't think that has much effect. Truthfully, I don't. I think it's more he sees that he has a limit in the company that he is currently in. And he needs to go and find himself. And if that's an AEW, which I think would make a lot of sense, he has friend after friend after friend there. He has Britt. Like, everything makes sense. That's the biggest domino to fall that I think a lot of people could follow after him.
Do you think AEW would be the landing spot if Adam Cole leaves?
Yes.
Obviously, there's Ring of Honor and New Japan as well on the table. But do you think AEW is the good? I mean, obviously, if his girlfriend, with his all friends and all that stuff, and it makes sense for him personally, and I say it's an exciting show, he'll probably get the same amount of money, but he could also maybe get the same amount of money at Ring of Honor, just because of what their financial backings are, and obviously I would argue they're going to make a play for him too.
I don't think he wants to take a step back. I think that's a big thing for him, and no offense to Ring of Honor, but they're still a step back. AEW is not a step back. And AEW has that relationship with the New Japan. that you take advantage of. And I think Ring of Honor still does, because like Brody,
know.
like Brody King's on New Japan Strong, and
That's true.
they talk about like Violence Unlimited and all that, but I have no idea what's going on there. But Adam Cole to me is a big block in WWE's future, because if he leaves, you're gonna see something really happen here, which I'm intrigued by, because Adam Cole's a big free agent. He's not on the level of Punk or Daniel. I'm telling you that now.
Mm-hmm.
But you add those three within the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Whew, those are 3 main event stars.
Not even 3 months, like 2 months maybe.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like if we're saying Grand Slam, it might be Danielson. Like that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people.
And you can have CM Punk do All Out. Not CM Punk. You can have Adam Cole do All Out if he was to agree to a contract. You can have 3 big surprises.
I believe you can actually do CM Punk at All Out as well. Technically,
Yeah,
but it seems like
you can't go past United Center without giving people CM Punk. I'm sorry, you can't do it. You can't go past August 20th, or someone's rioting, and it's going to be me.
When is
It's the 4th of September.
4th
Labor
or
Day weekend.
5th.
You're right, because it's on Sunday now.
Yeah. And yeah, Rampage is the 20th of August, so you can have CM Punk debut on that show, and then get, I don't know if he's going to be on Rampage or Dynamite, but you get 1, 2, 3 weeks of TV time to build up a pay-per-view, which I think is a solid build with CM Punk and Kenny Omega. SummerSlam, which is kind of around when Adam Cole's contract would be up, is the 21st. So then you can have Adam Cole show up on that Dynamite following if you so choose.
That would be crazy, because he's going to be on that takeover the day after SummerSlam, fighting Kyle O'Reilly, probably losing if he says he's leaving.
Yeah.
You can have him show up on that. I don't know if they'd show. I don't think they'd show him up on that Dynamite though.
I think you should. I think you should, because here's my thought process. I think they're obviously, to me, it feels like they're teasing CM Punk Darby Allin. Yeah. Based solely on Darby Allin's quotes.
And you're saying do Adam Cole.
Adam Cole versus Kenny Omega at All Out. Let's think about this. Let's talk this out.
I would love that.
CM Punk versus Omega is way bigger of a draw. Bigger of a draw.
They don't need the draw, though.
They don't need the draw. Just him wrestling on a pay-per-view, wrestling for the first time in years against Darby Allin, Darby Allin's already the huge star.
Yeah, you could put him against Griff Garrison and people would be tuning in.
Yeah, that's true, probably. Griff Garrison, big numbers. Griff Garrison, baby. Ladies love that hair. But like, he's already gonna draw. He's already gonna draw money for the pay-per-view by just having him wrestle on the pay-per-view. So why burn that match against Omega right off the bat?
Right.
Why not just? I mean, because Grand Slam. When is Grand Slam? That is a Wednesday, right?
Yep.
They are
Dynamite.
That is the 22nd of September, so it's after All Out. You're already going to sell it. Why then burn the Punk Omega match on All Out when you can save it for another pay-per-view build?
I don't think they're going to burn it.
When you can do Adam Cole versus Kenny Omega. Obviously, this is all tangential. We have no idea if Adam Cole's going anywhere at all. But
right. He could just stay in NXT.
He could stay in NXT for all I care. But the possibility exists. The reality of it happening, I would say, is fairly high.
And it's better than Christian Cage versus Kenny, that's for sure. Oh, did I say that?
I would agree. It feels like right now they're building up to a Christian Cage match, or either a Jungle Boy or a Christian Cage match. But I would argue, I think that's a better pay-per-view match.
Absolutely.
I think that's a better pay-per-view match. But then they have, there's that whole aspect. I think that becomes your pay-per-view match. You build up to that. Start building the tension between Jungle Boy and Christian Cage, which they've already kind of started. But then you do Adam Cole. You do Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy. You do Punk versus Darby. You do Adam Cole versus Kenny Omega. I think that's a way better card than doing Punk Omega, which you can do on another pay-per-view, which I would say
With or without the title, I don't think you need the title involved.
No, and obviously all of this comes down to whether or not you have what's happening with Adam Page and his title picture. I think Adam Page.
I still think he wins the belt.
I think he takes the title off of Omega. I think that's happening at Full Gear now, because I think that's ironically even better for Adam Page because Full Gear is his pay-per-view that's named after him. So I think that works better, but yeah, I mean. We're running out of time here, so do we want to talk about PWG, GCW, Indies in general, or just dunk on WWE for 30 minutes?
I can say something about PWG real quick. Sure. Learn how to stream, asshole. God damn. Or like just put it up on like on-demand video like a day after. Like I don't even care if it's live at this point. I don't need to be waiting for a DVD in 2021.
Who has a DVD player in 2020?
No.
I mean, we have an Xbox. What? Just something just happened on Twitter?
I don't know if that's true. I was just reading a chat and someone said Chelsea Green's main eventing NWA Empower. If that happens, I am not watching it.
Oh yeah, I saw that somewhere. I don't know how though, unless she's facing like Mickey James, but they're sort of teasing it up with Deonna Purrazzo. I think she's part of the tournament that they're doing. And if she's a part of the tournament, then she can only get in the main event if she wins all of her matches.
Oh God! Oh, don't do that! Oh, don't! Oh, don't!
Okay, I guess I didn't write NWA on this list.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. It's totally
no one watches
okay.
it.
I don't know. I'm not talking about Nick Aldis.
No one watches NWA.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. PWG. There's talks and rumors right now about them starting to get streaming up or some way to just have streamed content. Maybe not the day after, but maybe sooner than DVDs. Which is that better? Is that worse? I don't know. I think the thing about PWG and they're able to get all these cool stars that aren't on TV, like Malachi Black, like Orange, like all the Ring of Honor guys, like Bandito. How are you gonna write Ring of Honor on here either? Nah, I like Ring of Honor.
Me too.
I think the reason they're able to get these guys on it is because they're not streaming it live, because they're not doing this stuff. Like,
but here's where I come back at you.
Sure.
Warrior Wrestling does it on Fight. And
True.
They have pretty much the same. They literally have Jay White next month or this month or whatever.
True.
Jay freaking White. And then they'll also have Brian Cage of AEW.
Again.
And they have like some other Ring of Honor guy.
And they got Danhausen, Ring of Honor's biggest star.
That's not okay. But that's my point. Like, if you can do all that, then why can't PWG just do it?
No, that's a fair point. And there's so many other indies along the country that do that. There's no I don't understand because that's a great point, because every other indie under the sun can get people like Jay White. And maybe that's probably part of contract negotiations and whatnot and people's individual contracts. But John Moxley can be on Bloodsport. John Moxley can be on Resurgence in the States that stream live. Obviously, these are special approvals, but is PWG not a special approval for these companies? Maybe it has something to do with the Ring of Honor contracts, because we're talking AEW people. Well, Danhausen,
not that they probably care, but
I feel like it's frustrating.
As long as Bandito's winning, you can air it.
I love Bandito. I'm so happy that he won the title. I love that guy so much.
He's so good.
One of my favorite wrestlers.
Do you want to talk about New Japan to wrap us up?
I didn't even write New Japan. What am I doing here?
All right, we'll talk about Nuge, which we've kind of already done before. I mean, we've been talking about Jay White like nonstop, but that's because we like Jay White. But there's a lot going on in the world of New Japan, and I'm gonna hit you with a question.
Sure. Shoot.
How do you feel about the current spot that New Japan's in, considering, all the difficulties from Gaijins going home and not ever wanting to be there to injuries after injuries after injuries? Like, I feel like those never stop. To postponements. How do you feel about what they're doing right now? Because to me, they're having a very tough time of giving like certified stories that once made New Japan like the promotion for a lot of people. And I don't think that's all their fault because of all these things going on. But some people could say they've also kind of been trending down this direction for a while.
It's tough because I think obviously they're like, the clap crowds really affect them. And I think we take advantage of how much the crowds really impact New Japan. But at the same time, the stuff that's happening in it is not very interesting. They have a limited roster. They're not able to get the Gaijins in. There's the whole Will Ospreay situation. There's, like you said, there's a bunch of different stuff. I think in terms of the Japanese soil, I think New Japan is not really that hot, right? I mean, I would argue they're ice cold. Maybe the G1 can turn it around for them, but even then, I'm not so confident. But like this idea that they've been turning around for, I don't know. I think if anything, New Japan US is the hot part of New Japan. I think they're the hot stuff of New Japan. I think that is what is very interesting to me is New Japan US. I think I don't want to see a freaking awful Tokyo Dome show with Evil versus Shingo. Shingo is one of the greatest wrestlers of the year, but I don't think Evil is the guy that will bring in the hot matches there. I think New Japan United States is probably the hotter ticket, I would argue. I mean, just look at what they got coming up. They got Jay White versus David Finlay, which is a match I said was one of my matches of the year. I think that obviously they have Kenny Omega, I believe. Is Kenny Omega? No, Kenny Omega's not showing up. They got Tomohiro Ishii versus Moose. They got who else they got? They got a bunch of different people, but I think New Japan Resurgence is going to be very interesting. I think the United States is a very solid hot ticket item. That's what's maybe keeping New Japan alive. I heard someone argue that what New Japan should just do is bring the entire company to California and just run California for a bit, because obviously that seems to be working for them than staying in Japan because of clap crowds and everything gone. They're really ice cold.
You know, you definitely I definitely agree with you at a lot of points. And I'm not the biggest Will Ospreay fan. I'm not. I'm not. I can't say I am. That being said, losing him, losing Jay White, losing
Coda.
Oh, that one was not good. Losing Coda recently, and losing the ability to bring over Ring of Honor stars, now AEW stars, I guess that
Moxley
relationship switched.
Moxley right. A little bit.
Mox, losing Kenta from time to time because he goes back to the States has really hurt the product. And you hit a lot of points in the fact that the crowds are hard to react off of for them.
Yeah.
Like I watch a lot of Japanese promotions now, and it seems New Japan struggles the most with the crowds.
Yeah.
And when Ospreay lost the belt, I said the best thing to do, and they ended up going with Shingo, which, is great because I like Shingo a lot. He's a great wrestler. He's having one hell of a year.
Yeah. But
I thought giving it to a Tanahashi or an Okada just to calm things down would have made a lot of sense. Because to me, it's unfair to Shingo to put him in a spot where the company is having such a tough time to, also build your first ever title run with a brand new title.
Title's cursed. Title's been cursed.
I don't think people recognize this new title needs to be established. It does. And it needs to be established during a time where the global pandemic is not allowing New Japan fans to be who they are, New Japan to have the talent that they usually have, it makes it really tough. And now Shingo is heading into a feud with Evil, and like I think Evil was once very good. His Bullet Club stuff is not good, which is just we can go. That's another day.
Another day, another day, another dollar.
But I think a lot of people want to like New Japan.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of things are making it difficult. Like they're gonna have Chase Owens in the G1. That is pain. I will not watch a single one of those matches. I can't get my that is miles worse than Bad Luck Fale, and that's because he is a piece of shit, Chase Owens. Like there is baggage beyond baggage with Chase Owens, which makes him the worst.
I think New Japan has a weird sort of issue where they're like, oh, this might be the hot take of the evening. I think New Japan is very similar to NXT right now in the same sense that there's a lot of stuff that's happening that, there's a lot of good stuff. I would argue that New Japan's wrestling is way better, but the same issue that we talked about with NXT, which is I don't care. Right. I just simply don't care about what's happening. I used to follow it and be like, oh, this is really awesome and this is great, but there's just nothing happening right now that I can really sink my teeth into and enjoy. And I don't know. It's just like they really shot themselves in the foot with the double titles. They worked themselves in the chute about creating a new title and doing all this stuff and then trying to build some sort of thing off of that and then nothing happening, constantly doing these crappy angles, having Evil do the titles, have Ibushi win it, have the Osprey run, which start to finish was bad. There's some good matches in there, but the storyline of it all was bad. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating, man.
That are still like, the diehard New Japan fans. They only care about the matches. That's why they're still there. They don't care about the story. And I think anyone that's grown up liking wrestling that started with a WWE, or I only say WWE because a lot of people did. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the reason people fell in love with WWE was the storytelling.
Yeah.
And every promotion can tell story. Every promotion can. It's a matter of every promotion does. And it's interesting. The one time I've really dug into New Japan over the past 6 months was when Tanahashi had to jump in for Kota. And that's because they had an instant story of the ace that they have been, trying to tell you that is broken down. It is not the same guy anymore. Went out and put on back-to-back nights of just incredible showings. And the way the match ended, and Shingo saying, you're still, the best. You're still the ace. You still got this. That brought me in because, first of all, Tanahashi's the freaking man. Like, I'm not going to lie to you there. But it was a story. And the Kota story was, Kota used to be the first champion. And now he wants the title back. That's it. Like, great. But there was no story there for me. And I just wish New Japan could get back to that. And I know it's not all their fault. It's annoying.
I think also the other problem of New Japan is that when New Japan got hot, they were in the middle. I would argue like smack dab in the middle of their like long-term storytelling. So there was something for new fans getting into New Japan to latch to. There was something happening already. There's back history that you can catch up on, and there was something to look forward to. Now that, in a way, they've basically reset, they have to start building those decade-long stories, and they're trying to, and it feels like they keep stumbling over their feet sometimes. And for me right now, New Japan is about patience. It's about trying to be patient and let them try to figure it out for a little bit, and maybe we'll get to a point where it's better off down the line. When is that going to happen? Is it going to be after COVID? I have no clue because I don't know when COVID's over.
No.
It's just just frustrating. This is why wrestling fans should get vaccinated and wear your mask, because I want to watch New Japan be good again. Let's make New Japan great again.
You know what's a clear sign that New Japan hasn't been New Japan?
What's that?
They've had 4 world champions this year alone.
A lot of people said the worst time in history of New Japan was like the Inokiism, like Brock Lesnar stuff. They swapped their titles around constantly during that era, and not as even more than four changes, but it was like at most it was like 12 in 1 year.
But we've gotten so accustomed to 1, maybe 2 title changes a year, and I don't think every title reign needs to be an Okada one. I definitely don't.
Yeah.
But that gives you a story to latch on to. Like, who will beat this guy? Right now, it's, oh, wow, the champion defended it. Good for him. Who cares? Like, that's what WWE does. That's a problem. Like, the reason why I like Roman Reigns so much is because he's had a title forever, and you don't know who's going to beat him. Yeah. I don't know who's going to beat Shingo, but that's because he became champion a month ago. Like,
let's build that story up a little bit. Let's see what happens.
Right. Yeah.
In the last couple of minutes here, do you want to just run down each promotion, give like a letter grade of where they are right now? We're sort of the state of wrestling conversation. We talked about all these promotions, even ones that are on my list that I should probably write down. Remember and WW and NWA, and I think there was something else. Ring of Honor. That was the other one. Thank you. Maybe we just give like
I like letters.
Good letter grade about how we feel about all these promotions right now and where they're at. So New Japan. We'll start with the one we've been talking about. I would like starting with New Japan.
C+.
I would say C. I think they're solidly average right now. United States helps. Japan doesn't help. Maybe they got some stuff in there. NWA.
D-. That's being generous.
I would say D, because they're non-existent practically. They got a lot of bad stuff in there, but I'm interested.
Nick Aldis is still champion.
I'm interested to see where the Mickey James stuff and the Power stuff happens. Ring of Honor. I'll say it's solid B.
I'm gonna give it B-. I was gonna
doing a lot of minuses over here, bud.
I felt good about what they did at Best in the World.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I feel good about the women's tournament. The belt looks incredible. Like that was a good start. Just having the belt look good. They're on the up, considering 2 years ago everyone thought they were dead.
Yeah.
So
Jonathan Gresham's a great champion. I love Jonathan Gresham there.
Well, Bandito's the world champion, so we acknowledge Bandito.
Yes, sorry, my mistake, sir. I'm not gonna do PWG because that was a one-off show that no one could watch.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
GCW. We didn't talk about GCW at all, but we can get an idea about where they are.
Should be an A+ because of Matt Cardona, but I'm gonna go with B. I think they're doing fine.
I'd say C+, maybe teetering on B-.
I don't watch it enough. I just know Matt Cardona gave them more waves than they have ever had, and that is a brilliant move by them.
They got momentum. They got momentum right now, and I'm interested to see what they do with it.
The Deathmatch Machine.
MLW. Same sort of thing. It might be too hard to grade, but
big time C action, big time average, because they're kind of like just doing nothing right now. So
yeah, I would say C as well.
But they made the roster moves to make me care. That's what matters.
That's true. Impact.
I'm gonna give them a nice B. I think they're doing nice.
I'll go B-.
Okay.
B- and Impact. I'm enjoying Ring of Honor more, so I'm going to put Impact underneath them. But
Fair.
Impact is, like you said, a solid, easy watch.
Fair.
We didn't talk about this at all, but you got a whole another podcast to talk about that. Stardom.
A+.
5-star Grand Prix.
5-star podcast on Fight Game Media. You should check it out.
Hey, we'll do the plugs later, my friend.
I always do my cheap plugs. But
get the plugs in
seriously, like, I've watched every single one of their shows, every single one of their matches. They, for me, are the promotion of the year. That's not even slightly kidding. Like, when they have big pay-per-views, big shows, they deliver. Yeah. And they're picking up more steam than any promotion right now, besides maybe AEW, because AEW's, that's main central station, per se. But, like, I'm not kidding. They have the right champions. They have the right roster. Everything's on the up for them. I'm not even slightly kidding about my A+, and that's absolute favoritism. I don't give a shit.
No, that's fine. Everyone's opinion is right here. I would say I don't think I'm just now like I've always been like Stardom's always in the background for me of like maybe I should get into them. I'm just
That's a lot of people.
I know I completely agree.
I like this. Like you, the way you're explaining this is exactly how it's going right now for a lot of people.
That's fair. I am probably at the point where I just watched the first day of 5-Star Grand Prix. Got the second day to watch as well sometime this week. And then there'll be more every single weekend for
you get to
now
watch
until
someone
September.
snap their neck. Nice.
Oh, I'm
nice.
so excited. Was it Mayu? Because it always is Mayu.
It's actually two people. That's right.
Great.
Mayu also snapped.
But so I'm not going to grade Stardom yet because, like I said, I'm just now trying to actively.
But yes,
fair enough. WWE main roster.
Can I grade each show?
Oh, each like Raw and SmackDown.
Because Raw would be F. Raw would be F because that's the lowest I can go. SmackDown would be a B- because I think they have a lot of good going with like the fact that they're going to be doing Roman Reigns versus John Cena and Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. Like those are two premier matches. But then there's the Raw side where we're getting fucking Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley and a goddamn superhero as the women's champion. And I don't want to talk about it, so I'm moving on.
I'd say Raw F, SmackDown C. I don't know, I'm really cold on it. Maybe even D. NXT. C minus. I'll give NXT a C minus because I think they're.
I'll do C.
They're similar to New Japan in the fact I don't care, but I think New Japan is better wrestling, and has some exciting things. So I would say C minus maybe even D. Maybe D. I don't know. Wow. I'm all out of Mountain Dew. I keep drinking this glass like there's more Mountain Dew magically.
Putting WWE into the dirt.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then finally the last one, what we started with, AEW.
B+, and I think they get to A very easily with a good homecoming, delivering on their all-out pay-per-view, and CM Punk. Ow.
I'm gonna go A minus. A minus. They have good things, good momentum right now.
What a stand!
What a stand! Says the guy that gave Stardom an A+.
That's the correct take. So.
I'm gonna say A minus just because they got
That's
some
fair.
solid stuff. Everything's very exciting right now. The women's division, there's some those
you
other
fix the women's division, you're getting to an A+.
I would agree. Completely agree. All right. Well then, I think that's good. You want to give your July matches of the month here? We go. I don't know if you have it on the ready on you. I have it on Post-it note, my dude. I came prepared.
I have it in my doc. Give me like 2 seconds.
Yeah, no worries. What if you don't know, people at home, Scotty and I on the website countonpod.com, our lovely network here, we were doing a match race. We're trying to watch the most matches in the course of the year. Whoever wins, we're both playing for charity. So I'm playing for the Atlanta Children's Shelter Foundation. Scotty's here playing for the JED Foundation. So we're whoever wins, whoever gets money donated to their charity. So we're trying to watch the most matches a month. We're giving those updates all along the way. So Scotty, I got my list here.
I'm ready.
Do you want to start with your number 3 of the month of July?
Yes, Shingo Takagi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from Wrestle Grand Slam.
That match, I haven't seen that match yet.
Well,
I watched all of Grand Slam except for the main event. I don't know what I'm doing here. Can you talk me through that match? Sell me on the match.
Tanahashi gives you all the heart that you need, and Shingo is continued his ridiculous year of just not missing in his biggest matches. I don't think I need to give you much more. Like,
no, I mean I'm already gonna watch it, I guess, but yeah.
The beauty of Tanahashi is that he can make you believe in every single match he's in, and he does that all over again. Like, I knew he wasn't gonna win, but watching it live, because I'm a psycho, I was absolutely on the edge of my seat because there are times in that match where you are all in. And that's the beauty of New Japan at its best.
Very nice. Number 3, staying in that sort of New Japan sphere, but moving into the States. I'm gonna go Moxley versus Archer IWGP United States title and Texas Death Match. Is that what I believe that's what it was? Texas Death Match, Fyter Fest Night 2. I really like that match. I thought it was really, really solid. I would say it's probably an improvement off of their Wrestle Kingdom match, I would argue.
Wow.
I think it was just something about it was better. Maybe it was the raucous crowd that night, because that night, those crowds were very, very strong. But I think
Crowd always helps.
But I think that match was just really, really great. The barbed wire fall finish there was a fantastic finish, a fantastic way for Moxley to lose the title. I think, even though playing into the Japanese rules there, able to change the title even on countouts, I think that was a very great way to showcase that to the American audience. A great way to save Moxley in that instance. It was very strong, very hard hitting. Archer, in my opinion, does like the New Japan style way better than New Japan wrestling style, and it's probably because he has wrestled in New Japan for quite a long time. Yeah. So he understands it more, but I just think their pairing is a very strong pairing. I think Lance Archer is honestly super underrated too.
I agree. That's a good one. I like that match a lot.
All right. What's your number 2?
This one's kind of wild. I literally watched it yesterday, but it happened last month. So Dragon Gate's Kobe World, Shun Skywalker versus KZ for the Open the Gate Championship. Don't quote me on the title. I don't actually know what it's called.
I believe that's correct. Quite literally the title.
How about that? I'm brilliant. People told me about it. I saw a lot of reaction from it on Twitter. So I decided, you know what, I'll check it out. KZ, really good. Like, this dude is absolutely insane for a guy that I feel like not enough people know about. Definitely worth checking out. I think this is the type of match you'll enjoy. Okay. You specifically. Shun Skywalker as champion was really cool. His name's really cool and he looks really cool. So that was like a good combo for me. But it was just a great match. Doesn't feel too long. And they never slow down. Like, it never enters the Puro, like, let's get to a certain time, if that makes sense. Like, I know some Puro matches, like, they do that. This was just a lot of fun.
Non-stop. Shun Skywalker has been, like, very interesting to watch. He has such a presence about him.
Yes.
It's very intriguing.
Skywalker's a great last name.
I agree. And KZ had a match against Pac a while ago, which was very interesting. Shun Skywalker, I also heard, had a match of the year contender
the day after.
Exactly, the day after against Yamato.
Yeah, haven't seen that yet.
Which I'm very interested to watch as well. But I'll check out the KZ one as well.
I've seen some 5 stars given out for that one.
I have as well. So that always piques my interest. It's like, okay.
That's when I'm like,
okay, I'll check that out. Sticking with the bias, I'm gonna go with AEW again. And the Fight for the Fallen 10-man elimination tag team match. Just so good. Start to finish, including the entrances. Yeah. So freaking good, dude. Just like start with the entrances. I got chills from watching the Dark Order entrance. I showed it to my girlfriend. It was one of those entrances where I was like, Jesse, you have to watch this. I watched it again and got chills again. Because it was just so great. It was such a moment as an Adam Page fan to have. Yeah. And then on top of that, you get the corporate synergy, the throwback that the best Space Jam 2 that I'm going to appreciate is the entrance of the Elite. And I just thought that was very fun. Then you go into the actual proper match. Everyone gets their shit in. It's a very solid match. You got story beats up and down the card. You get Doc Dangly Gallows getting protected by getting counted out. So that's you always want that good stuff with Doc Dangly. And just the finish by having the 3-on-1 parallel, of course, Revolution year and a half ago. Get that same shot happening, the same exact shot. It's just these are the things. That match was the moment. The match was the thing that match is the reason why AEW is great. Honestly, top from the beginning to the end of that match, that sequence, is the reason why AEW is great. Is the great storytelling, the great matches, the great fun entrances that they can do. That's the reason AEW is great, in my opinion. Is that match?
Well, it wouldn't be right if I didn't get my favoritism in here. No,
Please do.
I did my best not to. Like I think it was last month that you and me were like talking about how like sometimes my top three is very Joshi heavy,
Of course.
and sometimes it cannot be. And I think this one proves that. That being said, we have a nice little stardom match here. I already saw your terrible rating for it, so I'm not even gonna talk about. I'm not even gonna recognize you for this. Mayu Iwatani versus Momo Watanabe. And listen. I think you need to get into the Joshi mode, like the way they wrestle, to fully appreciate it. And I know you are just getting into it, so I won't actually get too mad at you for your rating just yet. It'll take time, and then once you really get into it, that's when I get angry. That being said,
I'm excited for that. I don't know. Is that something to look forward to?
You have a podcast with me now. You're doomed.
Oh no.
Mayu Iwatani versus Momo, 5-star Grand Prix. These two are my two favorite wrestlers in the world, so it's automatically just going to pique my interest probably more than the normal person. That being said, I just think the finish alone is enough for me to say you need to watch it, because the Peach Bomb breaks necks, breaks people. Watch out. Momo for 5-star Grand Prix. Let's go. But no, seriously, I love this match. I love the speed that they went at. I'm not a big like epic match type of guy. Like I know a lot of people like epics, like the 40-minute epic, yada, yada, yada. And I don't think match time determines a great match. I think what determines a great match is two competitors going head to head. And these two are always consistent, delivered for me. And man, August is prepping to be such a wild month as is. So let's hear your last one. If it's AEW again, then we're gonna have a problem. It's AEW again.
Hey man, they had a really good month. They got crowds back. How can you not? How can you
Wait
not?
a minute. Let me sit back and think.
Sure. I already said the 10-man elimination tag. I already said Moxley versus Archer. What's your guess? I'm biased. I'm biased. Man, it's so good.
Is it a Young Bucks match?
No, it is not.
Ooh, okay. What the fuck?
What the hell happened in the month of
What
July?
happened this month?
Well, I already said Fighter Fest Night 2. I said Fight of the Fallen.
So we got a Fighter Fest Night 1 situation here?
Yes, we do, my friend. It was a match that I had no expectations for. I thought it was going to be really good. And
Darby and Ethan Page.
Blew me out of the water. Blew me out of the water.
That was a really good match.
Match
blew me out of the water as well.
Best Ethan Page match I've ever seen in my life. I like just unreasonably violent. That turnbuckle choker spot, necklace spot was insane. Shouldn't be done, but it was done.
That's a great match. That's probably the highest I have out of those three you picked too. It was insane.
It was one of those matches where it's like you're expecting a great match, and then it supersedes that. You're like, oh my god, this is way better than I thought. And
the joke was I wasn't expecting a great match because it's hard to have a good casket match.
That's fair. No, that's fair, and I think they did because I think they remembered that casket matches are no DQ.
Yeah,
a lot of issues of casket matches is like the only weapon they use is the casket. It's like no, we're gonna fight everywhere. We're gonna use the ring. It doesn't matter. Because my point is I'm trying to essentially kill you. I'm gonna put you into the coffin. So I should do everything in my power to do that.
Darby is psychotic.
He's psychotic. He's so good, dude. He's so good, and I just love it. I just love it so much. I thought that was such a great match, top to bottom. It like I said. An easy way for me to give more star ratings to something is to have something exceed my expectations. That is like an easy, like almost sometimes a whole star where I'm just like, oh my god, that was way better. That had no reason to be this good. And I'm just like, I just enjoy it way more. And I thought that match was just top down great.
Great choice.
Thank you.
That was it's funny. I think all the matches that you named, because I've watched them all, of course.
Brag about it.
Whoa.
Mr. Big Money Wrestling Watcher over here.
Listen. There's no such thing as big money over here.
There's no such thing as big money in wrestling podcast.
No. But they're all great. AW had a really good month, and the fact that they should have a better next 2 months is that was why I'm so excited, and that's why this podcast starting now is the perfect time.
Yeah, every weekend for the next 2 months.
Maybe for you, we can get more Jungle Boy.
Ooh, how dare you? How dare you bring him up? No, yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. I think we try to do our best to talk about, give our feelings about all these promotions, and obviously in the upcoming weeks with our 2 hours, we'll be able to dive into more interesting things week to week, and bookings and and all that jazz. So hopefully we'll get a sense of that. I think this is a good way to convey our feelings about so much wrestling that's happening in the goddamn world. But again, thank you everybody for listening to this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. Scotty, anything to plug?
Oh boy. Okay. Check out my Joshi podcast, the 5-star podcast on Fight Game Media's Patreon. You can check out my articles. Oh boy. Last Word on Sports, Daily DDT, Inside the Ropes, and Fight Game Media, and Voices of Wrestling. I knew I was going to forget one, but I didn't. And otherwise, follow me on Twitter as well, at Scott E Wrestling. That is very simple. Follow me there, and just make sure you tell me that I was right with all my opinions, and we'll be cool.
You can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Knightsey. You can figure out how to spell that last name. You can also, obviously, we want you to subscribe to this. It's our first ever episode, so we want you to subscribe. And then big things starting for the network, which we didn't talk about at all. We should have maybe taken a break at one point, but we'll discuss. It technically starts tomorrow by the time this episode comes out. Is Count Out Network is doing a first annual Count Out Network drive. Basically, we joked about it. There's no wrestling money here. So there's a lot of effort and there's a lot of stuff that goes into podcasting, a lot of time that gets taken out of your day. So this is their hat in hand moment of the year where, we are trying to ask for your kind generosity by becoming a member of the Count Out Network family, Count Out family member, if you will. It's a $5 subscription, gets you a Dropbox full of exclusive audio. So you'll get stuff like, I believe How to Talk to Your Friend About Wrestling will have something exciting. At the time of recording, I don't know what it is. I'll find out soon. There'll be, Ryan and Mikey, me and Mikey are doing a thing called Fast Foodies, which is going to be a very interesting audio medium there. There's going to be a bunch of stuff. We greatly appreciate it. You can donate to whatever shows you like, and every show gets a portion of that. Even this show, Ring Post Radio.
Yay!
So every show will get a portion of that. So
do it for me.
Do it for Scotty specifically. So it's one of those things that we come hat in hand. We understand that financials for everybody is difficult, but we would appreciate any donations possible. Not I want to say donations, but any generosity coming our way. Obviously, we greatly appreciate it. And you'll get content in return. That's always going to be there. And there's going to be more every year. So I would say totally worth it. The value only gets better and better. So why not start now? That is everything. We got a bunch of other shows on Count Out Network as well. So go check those out. I think that's everything, Scotty. I mean, what do you think? First ever episode? Do you think we nailed it? Think we nailed this whole goddamn thing?
I'm tired.
Yeah, dude, 2 hours. 2 hours. I think Mountain Dew was a good choice for me. I think that got me through.
Yeah,
2 hours.
I was out, walked in the door, gone on here, so I'm tired.
You were, I saw you had your hat in your hand. You put your jacket on and everything. You were like, "Oh, see ya. I'm walking out of here."
Yeah, it was nice talking to everybody. Hope you enjoyed the very first episode. Won't be as rambunctious because we'll be talking more weekly wrestling after this week because it's more of a weekly pod. That being said, thanks for tuning in.
Awesome. See you guys. This has been a Count Out Podcast.